Welcome to another episode of We Should Code, and today we're going to be giving an introduction to variables. Okay, so when it comes to the term variables, you want to think of it as either a container or a box, which can store values of any type. Okay, it can be numbers, integers, words, or strings, or other data information, arrays, what have you. Okay, when you create a variable, you are basically creating an empty box so that you can put something into it so that you can recall by using that variable name later on in your code. So here's an example. We have Jets the robot over here, our friend, and here we have a variable, Jets underscore robot equals 3. And here's your variable name. Here's Jets underscore robot. Here's your value, 3. So we're assigning it a value and we're assigning it a variable name. The variable names can be anything. We'll get into the naming conventions in a minute, but you want to just make sure that you're creating it and giving it a value at some point in your code. All right, so the rules for creating and naming variables are quite simple, really. There are more to it than this, but these are the 4 fundamentals, I would say, to get you going. So rule number 1, you want to make them distinct and clear. So a variable, you should know what it holds or what value it holds just by seeing the name. So you should get an idea of what it's for when you see the name, because it has to be that clear to other users, other programmers that may come across your code later on. Rule number 2, you want to use the same naming conventions or the same naming rules throughout your code base. It makes it easier to generate the names. It makes it easier to recall the names. So you can either use all lowercase. You can use what we call camel casing, which is just having your first letter lowercase and your first letter of your second word uppercase. So it looks like a camel hump. Or you can do the name underscore description like we did here with the Jets underscore robot. So that's another common way of doing it. There are many different ways. Most people develop their own. The most important thing is to keep to the same set of rules, throughout your code. Rule number 3, you must define your variable. So if you don't ever bother to declare that Jets underscore robot exists, if you never bother to name it, you can't then recall its value later on. And then if you try to, you generate or usually generate errors. It says, hey, where's the variable you're talking about? We don't see it. So you want to make sure you define and declare the variable in your code at some point, or else you won't be able to recall it. All right. Then rule number 4, remember that your variable values can be numbers, names, strings, words, arrays, what have you. The idea is you want to know what you put in that variable so you can recall it later on and not have it give you the wrong set of values back later. So that's why you want to make sure it's clear, distinct, and you want to make sure you keep to the same rules so you know what you made. So here's an example. So we have Jets robot underscore age equals 3. So this basically declares that Jets is 3 years old. He's born in Hawaii 3 years ago. You can call the value, by simply referring to the variable in your code by its name. So how do we get 3 back? We just go by the variable name here, and we enter this into our IDE or our programming platform. And we say Jets robot underscore age. After having declared it, it will then read us back when we run the code. Instead of saying Jets robot underscore age again, it will now give us 3. So now you have the 3 years old is what Jets robot underscore age was basically taking the place of. So you've established that as the variable value. All right. So remember, lastly, remember, variables in coding allow you to simply create containers to use for later parts in your code. So you can recall values, you can recall words or terms, arrays, what have you, to reuse later on in your code, and it just makes it easier so you don't have to constantly repeat yourself over and over again. So Jets is such and such years old. And in code you can insert the variable so it displays Jets age. So instead of putting the 3 in, we can put Jets as Jets robot underscore age years old. And what you get back is Jets is 3 years old, because that's the value, if you remember, that we gave it. Okay, so now it just takes the place of it. So it basically switches it out. Why would you do this? Well, typically you're going to have this variable declared, Jets robot underscore age, and you can assign other functions to it so that every year it automatically updates. So on his birthday, it would go to Jets is 4 years old, and you won't have to have changed the 3 in your text somewhere. You can have it automatically update on his birthday. So that's why you want to use the variable, because you can assign actual functions to the variable and have it have a value and have that value change over time with your code. So that's why we're going to build on this later, but that's why you want to make sure you get in the habit of using variables and values. Okay, so that's been our introduction to variables. There'll be more details on it as we go through. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and have a good day.